Welcome back to the Paisley Couch yet again. Today I want to talk about hecklers, how they can actually add to the quality of your show if you have the right attitude. So I did a number of different shows over the past 5 weekends at the Michigan Renaissance Festival, as you may or may not know. Throughout the day I do 4 stage shows a day and I do 3 shows per day in the castle for special events. Shows in the castle are just about 5 minutes long, maybe 10 minutes long, depending on how much time they need me to fill in order to make sure that the whole event goes smoothly. And my stage shows are usually about 30 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes over, sometimes 5 minutes under. It all depends on how fast I get through the material, and it also depends largely in part on how well the audience is responding to what I'm doing. And sometimes the audience responds very, very well, and other times they respond very, very well also, but with a lot of talking over what I'm trying to say, or sometimes beat me to the punchlines I'm about to deliver, or otherwise what they call heckling. So heckling, I guess, can be whenever someone chooses to participate in your show with or without permission, and they have something to say that may or may not be funny, or may not be hurtful to the entertainer who's doing the show. I used to have a very, very sensitive ego when it came to being on stage, and I still do. Admittedly, I think most entertainers have a sensitive ego. When you put all of your heart and soul into something, and someone just tears it apart, or dumps on it, and has negative things to say about what you're doing, I mean, it can hurt your feelings quite a bit. Years and years ago, I was very, very sensitive, and I would take any criticism very personally. And admittedly, I still do kind of take criticism personally, but it all depends on how it's being delivered and how it's being relayed. But I guess what changed for me quite a bit, a fellow entertainer at the Michigan Renaissance Festival told me about the value in a good heckler. A good heckler will say something that's funny and get a very big or very positive reaction from the audience, most likely at your own expense, or maybe even not at your own expense, but they'll get a laugh, and the whole crowd will have a good laugh at what's happening right there. And if you are entertaining people and you're hoping to be the funny guy the whole time, or be the funny person the whole entire time, and if someone else makes the audience laugh harder and louder than you're able to make them laugh, it's not something you should really be ashamed of or feel disappointed in. It's something you should learn from, because the best material comes from good hecklers. Meaning you can learn a lot from a good heckler. A good heckler, if they can make the audience laugh, that's an opportunity for you to learn something from them. If you pay attention, you can learn from that experience, and you can find a way to use that joke in the future in your own show. You can look at the theory behind what made that joke funny, or how that was delivered, and there's always something to be learned from a good quality heckler, someone who is maybe beating you up a little bit, but that's okay. If the rest of the audience is having a good time, and more importantly, how you react to the heckling, if you take it with good graces, and if you can keep the show moving and keep going forward, and if you can work with whatever they said and use it to your advantage, it shows that you are a stronger person, and it shows that you are able to handle the heckle, and it's a lot smoother and a lot more palatable for the audience to view something like that. If someone gets heckled on stage and they start getting upset and yelling back at the person, it takes away from the whole experience from everybody. No one wants to see an argument while they're supposed to be watching an entertaining and or funny show. They don't want to see that. No one wants to see that. No one wants to go through that. So if a heckler is giving you guff on stage, and if they're giving you trouble, and if they're hurting your feelings or anything like that, the more you can just put that aside and you can blow it off and keep moving forward, or even play off their joke or make the joke funnier than they did. Whatever you can do to one-up the heckler is a good thing, in my opinion, because you're the one who is in charge of the show. You're the one who's in charge of what's happening on stage at that moment. So you have to make sure that you can keep control at the same time. If the audience finds it funny, there's some humor in there, and that's an opportunity for you to take advantage of that humor and make it your own. Put your own spin on it, find another way to deliver the joke, make it work with your particular character, put it part of your repertoire. So yeah, as I said earlier, years and years and years ago, hecklers would just be detrimental to my show. I would take things personally, I would blush, I would turn beet red if they said something that was really funny at my expense. Nowadays, any of those male anatomy and or flatulence jokes that get thrown my way, water off my back. It's not a big deal anymore. And this whole video, by the way, was inspired by a gentleman who was part of my show in the castle at the end of the day at the Michigan Renaissance Festival, called the King's Ale Hour. And in the King's Ale Hour, it's a 21 and up show only. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long, maybe sometimes an hour and a half long. And it features a whole hour of entertainment with chicken wings and potato chips and beer, live music, some vignettes, comedy acts, and then there's me. And there's me in there. I do some juggling, and I do my fire show in the castle. There was a guy who was just yelling over everything I was trying to say, and I think he was a little drunk. He might have been drinking a little bit. But after the show, I went back to my cart, and on the way out, he passed by my cart, and he apologized to me for being a heckler. Truth be told, it bothered me a little bit, but it didn't matter because everyone else was having a really good time in the castle, and it meant a lot that he even thought enough to apologize to me, which was really nice of him. He was just trying to participate in the show. He was trying to have a fun time, and I appreciate any time someone's trying to involve themselves in my show and to get involved and to make noise and to interact with me, as long as it makes sense and it goes along with the show. In this case, it makes perfect sense. We're in a loud body environment with drunk adults who are shouting over one another. So I can't take anything personally in that environment, right? I'm supposed to be the person that's up on stage doing a fantastic show for all these people. But in that environment, how can you possibly take things personally? How can you possibly? I mean, people are going to say things, people are going to try to say clever things, because when you're juggling these spheres, of course there's jokes about male anatomy. I've had it my whole entire 22 years of my contact juggling career. Of course there's references to David Bowie. It's going to happen. They saw it in the movie The Labyrinth. Of course there's going to be references to Fushigi. Fushigi, by the way, was this infomercial craze that happened in the early 2000s, mid-2000s perhaps, where they had a ball that had a metal ball inside, and they would do the contact juggling with it, but they called the product Fushigi, and they called the verb, the art of contact juggling, Fushigi, meaning that anyone can Fushigi with a Fushigi. So it was a noun and a verb. Pretty strange, but kind of brilliant marketing if you really want to hand it to them. Am I any better? I'm selling my balls too, folks. Link down below in the description. Anyways, back to the business. So hecklers, they come in many different flavors, many different styles. They have something to add to the show more often than not. At the very least, you can learn what not to say. You can figure out what does not work very well or what's not funny. But truth be told, more often than not, hecklers tend to not really get as much of a reaction out of the crowd as you will because you are on stage. And usually hecklers, they don't have experience being on stage. If they have experience being on stage, more likely than not, they would keep their mouth shut and respect the person who is doing the show. I think that's typical. I think if you're an entertainer, you tend to respect who's ever on stage, and you give them the respect they deserve by allowing them to do their show and allowing them to get through their material. And if you don't respect that, and if you are a stage entertainer, I'm willing to assume that you might not be the best kind of stage entertainer, because if you're trying to take someone else's stage time while they're on stage and piping into their show and dumping on it, there must be something missing in your own particular form of art. Perhaps, I don't know. But everyone's different, every circumstance is different. Sometimes people heckle for different reasons. You never know what motivates someone sometimes. Maybe they're having a really bad day. Maybe they don't like that particular entertainer for personal reasons. Maybe they think that joke that's inside their mind is incredibly funny and will help the entertainer's show. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. It's all just a roll of a die. All of this is gamble. All of our perceptions are gamble. I mean, you can have experience, you can go into a situation, and you can use experience to your advantage, but at the end of the day, none of us really know how other people are going to respond to what we say, and other people never really know what we are going to say as well. So it's all a gamble. It's just random chance sometimes. Alright folks, that's about it. Thanks for watching this video about hecklers and how they can be advantageous to a show rather than just detrimental to your ego as an entertainer. You can learn a lot from a good heckler. You can even learn a lot from a bad heckler too. You can learn what to do and what not to do. You can find value in entertainment, and you can find value in learning how to use self-deprecation, humor, to your advantage. You don't have to let someone else do that joke. You can be the clever one, and you can dump on yourself before they do. That's all I got, folks. So with all that, thanks very much for watching. I appreciate it very much. Please know that I post every single day of the year for the year of 2021 about a bunch of different things. I typically do a circus and flow arts tutorial every single Sunday, and by typically, I mean I have done a circus and flow arts tutorial every single Sunday for the year of 2021, and I plan on doing that for all 52 weeks of this year. And I also post about so many other things. So many other things, in fact, that I lack a focus outside of the circus and flow arts, of course, and I'm just pure chaos. You never know what you're going to get here on my channel. I have many different interests, and I've managed to organize all the content I've created so far this year into different playlists on my channel, so you can find something that might pique your interest a lot easier. And that's where I'll leave you. Thanks again for tuning in, and remember to never give up, and to do your best, and to stay true to you, and be amazing. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.